Amazing. Well, we are live. I'll let everybody flood in. Can see the number of participants climbing, already at 100. Not even 20 seconds into this. So, yeah, super excited for today. Maybe if anyone who's attending, if you want to put in the chat sort of where you're calling in from, the company you're working at, maybe your role, interesting fact about you, just so we can kind of get an idea of who we're presenting to today. But yeah, super excited. We'll give us maybe a couple minutes, let everyone get in, and then we'll kick it off.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Just to set the stage really quickly, this is Assisted Prospecting Part 2. If you haven't caught Part 1, we'll be sending it over in the recap email, but really excited to have this conversation today and talk to you guys about how we're doing Allbound for a real company.
Amazing. We got Diana in Colombia, India, Maine, Atlanta, Utah. Diana knows Utah is my favorite place. I miss it every day. Cool. Give it another about 40 seconds or so. We'll hit the 2-minute mark, and then we'll kick it off.
And just for a question in the chat, when was Part 1 done? I think it was October or November. I'm going to drop the link here in the chat really quickly so that everybody has access to it. And in Part 1, basically, we covered the methodology of Allbound, how to think about it, how tiering works. But today, we'll get into how it actually works in real life and how it's actually used. So sending the link here in just a second.
Perfect. All right, and there we are, 2-minute mark. So I'm going to kick us off. We got a good, healthy crowd today. You got Diana, Caleb, Matt, and myself from Clay, Supered, and RevPartners here. We're going to talk about assisted prospecting V2, like Diana mentioned. V1 was last October and November. It was a huge success. So we really talked about how do you get real-time enrichment, real-time signals data from Clay into HubSpot, using it as the main interface for your rep tools and really operationalizing all of that signals and enrichment data all the way through your organization. So today, we're going to continue to build on that. We're going to be walking through some real life use cases with Supered. We're going to be talking about how they're using signals, enrichment data, prioritization frameworks to make sure that they're operationalizing their entire go-to-market stack, again, all the way through the rep level, and just ensuring that you're maximizing the ROI from all of your go-to-market tools. Now, before we get into that, want to talk about an event coming up next month in Atlanta, which is Southbound. So this is sponsored by Clay, RevPartners, Supered, HubSpot. So all of us on the call will be there, and we're super, super excited. This is really a great event for revenue leaders. It's a go-to-market conference bringing together sales, marketing, RevOps people from across the country. It's going to be taking place at the Coca-Cola Roxy in Atlanta, an amazing venue. I was there last year. It was so much fun. And so everything this year is just going to be 10 times bigger, 10 times better, 10 times more fun. So on top of that, we've got a super stacked lineup. We've got Yamini from HubSpot, who's going to be the main event. We've got Donald Miller, who was there last year. That was I heard chatter in the hallway afterwards, people saying it was the best speaking event they've had at a conference. And I swear I'm not lying about that. That is true. And then we have the one and only Varun from Clay. So our very charismatic co-founder and head of operations. He's always got something up his sleeve for some of these conference talks. So don't want to miss that. We do have a 60% off discount code for tickets. So from $500 to $200, use code prospecting here. We're also going to be sending this out after the webinar as well. So that'll hit your inbox, but definitely something you don't want to miss. So really encourage everyone to make it there again in Atlanta at the Coca-Cola Roxy, April 16th next month. Going to be awesome. Cool. So with that, I want to do some quick introductions for everybody on the call today. I'll kick us off and then I'll pass it over to Diana. My name is Tyler Swanson. I work here at Clay. I'm a go-to-market engineer. I've been here for just over a year now. Most of my work is alongside our partner ecosystem. So Diana and myself, we're always chatting, always working through deals, doing tons of work and bouncing ideas off each other, really making sure that this concept of go-to-market engineering and the power of Clay is making it into the hands of RevOps leaders, HubSpot users, and of course, RevPartners customers as well. So Diana, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Tyler. All right, I am Diana. I'm the Senior Product Growth Manager at RevPartners. I have a background in marketing and revenue operations, and what we're doing right now is operationalizing Allbound strategies through Clay and HubSpot. So I'll be talking to you guys today about how the strategy comes live from a technical point of view and how it's actually used. Caleb, you're up.
I'm Caleb King. I'm a founding AE here at Supered and excited to share about how you use the system to prospect.
I'm assuming it's me next. What up, everybody? I'm Matt Bullion. Caleb didn't get his background very much. Used to be HubSpot PDM and Slate It, and now he's over at Super. Love everybody who works with Caleb loves working with Caleb, and he'll show you a little bit into his secrets towards the end of this. I used to be a military intelligence officer and am no longer that. Moving to SaaS, helped start RevPartners back in the day. I don't get to work with Diana as much anymore, for better or worse. Now I am leading and only thinking about Super and how to operationalize day-to-day human-first activity inside of a CRM. So excited to be here, excited to share how we are thinking about Allbound.
Amazing. Oops. Cool. So just to kick us off real quick, what's the agenda for today's call? We're going to talk about the Allbound strategy. So talk about signals, again, enrichment, segmentation, prioritization framework, sort of everything that's forming the core of your go-to-market and prospecting efforts. Then we're going to get deep into that prospecting prioritization. So again, getting into the real life use cases of Clay, RevPartners within Supered. And then we're going to end it off with a day in the life of a prospecting rep. So what does this actually look like if you are a rep and you are using HubSpot and Clay behind the scenes, and really put that into context with, again, what we've seen at Supered so far. Cool. So you'll probably hear Allbound a lot throughout this webinar. So the Allbound strategy is something that we've been working really, really closely with the RevPartners team on, using Clay as the core of the system, as well as a couple other tools to really round out a well sort of oiled machine, inbound, outbound, making sure you're surrounding all of your prospects, doing that via a number of channels and making sure it's all coordinated, but then also still giving your reps the power of this technology in their hands as well. So as you hear this, just know RevPartners is the experts on Allbound, powered by Clay. And yeah, they're great, and we'll dive into this more going forward. But before that, we're gonna start with a poll for the group. So to kick us off, would love to hear sort of everyone's biggest pipeline challenge right now. So as that poll comes up, you should see a couple of options. Let us know, throw it in the chat. Let's talk about it. Here we go. So we've maxed out our existing channels. Are you lacking a structured outbound motion? Your outreach isn't converting to meetings, or you're really feeling that the data behind the scenes and the signals noise that you're getting through potentially a number of different tools is not leading to efficient growth. Looks like the structured outbound motion is winning with 50% of results, still climbing 55%, and then outreach not converting to meetings. So both of those, I think, of course, tied to each other. Cool. Well, I think we've got a key winner: lacking a structured outbound motion, and then of course that outbound motion not tying or converting to meetings, which is obviously sort of the core and the impetus of outbound. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Matt, and he's going to jump into it.
Tyler, thank you. I love that poll. I came, so I'm starting off. Diana's going to be the first person to talk, but I wanted to set the frame of this, and then we can go in. She's going to be a bit more technical and how we set things up. It'll go to me. I'll look a bit more of the theory and strategy for how we prioritized. And then Caleb's going to show you exactly what it feels like on the day-to-day and how it works. So literally I came to Diana because I had an issue, and we had a specific, we were going to partners first. We had a partner product, and the list was made for us. It was every partner that tiers up. Very simple. Every single month, immediately delivered to me, and immediately intent, and it had everything I wanted. I didn't need anything else. But which was always the strategy to go to end users and do what we call process enforcement, which you'll see a bit of that today. It's how do you operationalize data in your CRM to have a structured process. was like, I need a structured outbound motion, and I don't have one today. I need the ability to replicate list. I need dynamic list. I need static list. I need them based on signals. I need them filtered. I need enriched so I don't spend $1 bajillion on Clay. And I need them in the system. And don't worry about it. She's like, but Matt, the issue is, how do you operationalize it? I'm like, don't worry about that. I got Supered. So what we're going to show you today is real life, a problem set, how we solved it, how we're literally solving it. And why, if you don't solve it this way, you're number one, are not going to have a structured outbound. And number two, your meetings will not convert. Sounds like the problems in the poll that I just saw. So Dana, I'll head over to you to go a bit more on the technical, and then I'll talk about how we prioritize outreach.
Yeah. So what Matt isn't telling you is that there is actually no real demand engine within Supered. And when I say that, I mean from a traditional digital marketing point of view, right? So he's going to talk to you about the entire hypothesis of using LinkedIn and the structure and the strategy that they use for demand within LinkedIn. But little old me over here thinking, what is paid? Where is content? Where is all the things that I would usually use for a strategy to bring things together? So literally all we had to work with was a lot of LinkedIn interactions and a lot of LinkedIn buzz and people coming in through that particular social channel. And that's what you're going to see in the strategy that we built together. And basically the way that we started doing this was by creating a segmentation strategy. So you have your partners, you know who they are. It's actually really quite simple to be able to go in and understand HubSpot solution partners, understand who's a consultant for HubSpot and Salesforce, and really all of the agencies around that ecosystem that they had already been tapping into. But the second part that was just a little bit more muddy, especially from a database point of view, was who was the actual end user. And so we had to think about the end user from the perspective of the companies who actually had B2B sales that were using HubSpot or Salesforce, because again, Supered is used for sales enablement as a tool. The way that it is used is mostly around these two ecosystems or these two platforms. And so it's interesting, or it's necessary for us to know what the tech stack each company is using. And then we also had to narrow down the specific annual revenue for each company and the number of employees for each company for us to be able to understand that true segmentation. So we were going after, let's call it mid-market companies that had B2B sales, that where their tech stack included either HubSpot and or Salesforce, that were within these annual ranges. And this is what we use to standardize ICP segmentation throughout the entire database. Now we talked about the enrichment strategy. So all of these things that are important to the business almost became like this pre-qualification, right? So the idea of enriching the ICP information, the tech stack information, all of the firmographics, all of the HubSpot information, the B2B sales and annual revenue, going straight into HubSpot from a point of view of this company is labeled as an end user versus this company is labeled as a partner, helped us start doing the segmentation that we needed for all of the automation that you guys are going to see in just a second. But we also determined what were the buyer personas that needed to be sourced or categorized as well within this strategy. So going after mid-market B2B companies, we wanted to be able to source sales enablement professionals, head of sales professionals, head of ops, and then also any head of marketing or marketing operations that would be interested in the in the solution. And so understanding this information from a segmentation perspective, we then went on to think about what are the signals that we could use to be able to do that list building activity from actual live signals to be able to generate pipeline. And so this is where we started with Supered, creating all of the different flows. So where we're sourcing website visitors straight in, categorizing them into the different ICP and buyer personas to push them into HubSpot. We did the same thing for new hires. So anybody with all of those different titles that I just mentioned that were newly hired. We also excluded from there any manufacturing operations because that's definitely a thing that needs to be taken into account. But one of the pieces that is the most interesting of the live signals that we've done for Supered, by the way, I'm the actual strategist for Supered. So these are all of the things that we built together with that. And so because they had such a big LinkedIn emphasis on their demand strategy, it was important for us to source things like LinkedIn followers. And so we chose from 5 different company and sales accounts profiles within LinkedIn. every time somebody new follows the accounts, they're being brought into Clay, enriched, categorized, pushed into HubSpot if they're this pre-qualified. And then also social listening. So we're pulling things like everybody who likes or comments on posts that are specifically around some keywords that are of interest to us, thought leaders, and then the actual posts that the sales team is pushing out there or Super is pushing out there. And we're cross-referencing that against the people who are actual followers to understand who is interacting with this social listening for Super. So those are the live signals that are being built from a Clay perspective. They're on an ongoing basis, coming into Clay, getting enriched, getting prioritized, getting pushed into HubSpot in real time for website visitors, and then on a weekly basis for all of the others. We also had the idea of doing some static list building. So Super has done a lot of events, and they're really big on creating a big buzz around events, especially inbound. They do an after party. So there were a lot of signups from these previous events in 2025. Big list that we went through, enriched, categorized, and pushed back into HubSpot with specific signals. And then we did something similar where we took the existing closed won, like highest TCV contracts, all of the companies and contacts, and we did a lookalike exercise where we, again, did lookalike in Clay, enriched, categorized, and pushed back into HubSpot with that particular signal as a lookalike. So I just talked about the ICP, the buyer persona, the ongoing signals that we're tracking, and then some of those static list building activities that we're doing. But the way that this all really comes together is through a scoring mechanism. And so the way that we do our scoring takes into account contact engagement, contact fit and intent, which also feeds into the signals and the date of the last signal, and then a company fit and intent score. And the output of that is company tiers. And so each one of the different scores that I just mentioned, so engagement, contact fit, company fit, need to equal up to 100. And so when we're thinking about contact engagement, this is the information that we get from HubSpot on visits, on replies, on sub-conversions, so any forms that are not really like a contact us form. And then for the fit and intent score, we needed to figure out a way to make sure that the latest signals that are flagged actually bumped up the contact and the company enough to be able to surface them through the tiering mechanism. So we give them a recency bonus, whereas where the last signal that is gathered gives an extra point or two, depending on how long ago it was. And this is the way that we use for basically decay in a very manual way at the contact and company level. And at the company tier level, we are then taking all of those contact fit scores and we're giving additional scores to the company for every contact that has a high score so that gives us the tiering mechanism. And at the end of the day, this is all done through HubSpot, by the way. At the end of the day, you get companies that are tier 1, 2, or 3, and that's what we use to be able to then do the prioritization that we're going to talk about in just a second. Now, seeing this all come together, it's really around this Allbound orchestration. So the sourcing layer is bringing in context from forms, but also from all of these first-party signals, the website visitors, the LinkedIn followers, the social listening. And there are some third-party signals like the new hires or the lookalike or the event lists that goes into Clay for transformation layer, enrichment and segmentation, ICP and buyer personas. The prioritization layer takes the contact, company, fit, and intent into this aggregated tiering. The action layer takes the tiers and tells us what needs to be done in each one of the tiers by the team. And then that goes into the go time, which is the multi-channel outreach that is done through automated LinkedIn connections, value first email campaigns that take into account LIM videos, and any sort of interaction within LinkedIn. So that's how it all comes together. Just really quickly here to round us out in this first part. The tech stack that we use is outlined here. So the sourcing layer, we use PhantomBuster for LinkedIn followers, Vector for the anonymous website visitors, that's at a contact level, and then Trigify to monitor the competitor keyword tracking and thought leader posts. And then from a transformation layer, we're using Clay for enrichment and categorization, HubSpot for scoring, segmentation, and this ultimate source of truth. And then the action layer takes into account HubSpot for assignment, sequencing, and then Super for surfacing the assignments and enablement, and then First Touch for LinkedIn automations. And I think that brings me to the end of my slides.
Amazing. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'll jump in. We have one more poll midway through. So this one, how are you currently prioritizing which prospects your reps touch first? So that should show up on the screen shortly. Here we go. Manual gut check, rep by rep, some basic lead scoring that you might be doing in your CRM today. You're automating the intent and fit scoring, or you don't do this at all. Looks like basic lead scoring and CRM. Oh, it just switched. Manual gut check by the rep is now pulling ahead. Looks like a pretty close race between the first two. Ooh. 34-36. Give another 5 seconds or so to get some last second answers in. You get a tie between the first two answers. Oh, I think we can call it basically a tie, seeing these results come in live. The manual gut check, rep by rep, or leveraging some basic scoring within likely HubSpot for prioritization. So with that, I'll kick it back over. We'll talk about some prospecting prioritization.
Okay, what is up, everybody? If you left anything, I would say, and I'm gonna say this because when I was talking to Diana, we had to set this up. First off, by the way, anybody, which no one's gonna do this, but anybody that buys Super like right now, I'll give you a Thor hammer like this. It'll be great as a giveaway. So I know it's not gonna happen, but I'll do it. Just a thought. Okay, if you book a meeting, I'll do that. We'll go down. If you feel what Diana just said, right? It is technical, right? There is a technicality about executing outbound. And so what I want to communicate is the tide has risen. Everyone's gotten better at outbound. And so if you feel worse, you're not necessarily any worse. Everyone else is better. And what do I mean? Because this is where we live today. And so when we were solving this problem, I would say if I was rebuilding a service company right now, what I'd rebuild is a list building service company, and it would be all in Clay, because like this will be part of your competitive differentiation. Everybody can do. AI has democratized great copy. Your ability to send great copy is not based on your best rep or training. Your AI can be pretty darn good at this. We can now send out a larger volume. The creation of lists are easier. And even getting the right intake signals are a bit easier. So there's more volume. It's easier than ever to orchestrate and automate calls and DMs, LinkedIn. Like it's easier. And so what does that mean? That means it is harder to book meetings from outbound sources. That's what that means. So when Diana is asking, hey, what's our go-to-market strategy and how do we think about this? We have a very specific way we go to market to face this, what I believe is the new reality that we're in. And that's what I'm gonna talk about a bit, because it's not just prioritization, it's how you operationalize that data. And so there's one more wrinkle, if you would. So when it's all democratized, how do you win? Do you go bigger? Do you put a lot of time? Do you get louder? I am super. We like to be loud. And so I would say, yes, you can. You probably should go loud too. But no. The real idea is you must go warmer. I call it gravity. How do you only touch people? Oh, that's the word. How do you only interact with people that already know about your brand? That's the question. That's called gravity. And you need to increase your gravity. Clay, as a function, as a marketing, does a freaking amazing job besides that, probably because they use Clay. As an example. So every person you reach, this is where we need to live. I call it Surroundbound. Allbound is one aspect of that. Surroundbound introduces all your LinkedIn activity, but Allbound is one aspect of that. That's what Diana, we already had the LinkedIn presence. We didn't have the warm-bound portion of this that RevPartners helped us build. So how do you get to the point where every person you reach out to already knows about you? And you might not like Super, but you've heard about Super, right? That's where we need to be if you're sitting inside of our place. So we call this idea a Surroundbound. You'll see this is a graph calling the gravity. You have your brand, and how do I get people connected on LinkedIn? They have a pain point. They come to like, how do you orchestrate these things to hit people on the bullseye every time? That's what we're thinking about. That's what we built. That's what we'll show you a bit. Dan has already gone through this to make it real simple. Like Dan is going through a lot of the technicalities of orchestrating and creating this, but make it real simple. We needed to move from inbound really only to outbound. And what we had to do is collect a bunch of signals being what were the proxies that would mean they would be good fits for us, either via the pain they're in or being that they're aware of our brand. How do we filter for our ICP? So we don't spend a bunch of money on Clay, even though I love Clay. I want to spend money. I just want to spend a bunch of money. How do you enrich the right contacts, then push that into HubSpot? And this is the really hard part. Then how do you activate that data once it gets in, which is what Caleb's going to show you here in a moment, how we do that at Super. So this is step one. We activate. You need to have the idea of order. How do you prioritize the leads that come in? So what we have, this is how we think about this. I'm sure there's others, but we use a 3-tier mechanism, and we have 3 personas we go after. I call it the trifecta. I think it's always helpful to have that because I like to triangulate in general. So our trifecta for our personas are RevOps, revenue operations professional. They may be in marketing ops, maybe sales ops. We just call it all RevOps. The sales leader, that manager, the person that's leading the revenue function, and the sales enablement. And if we get all 3 of those inside of a company that's showing interest or in some way, we know we can win. So when they get filtered down, that persona that's showing a signal is either getting put into a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and those priorities have different expectations for us to spend time. So it's hard. So we have this idea that we need to be human first. In an age of AI, we're actually an age of execution and you need to be human first. So our tier 1s are white glove. They get sent to our AEs to execute a very high touch play. We then have our tier 2s go to our SDR team to work through, which they have a lower touch, but more activity there. And then tier 3, we are using HubSpot's prospect agent today, a combination with SDRs that we're trialing that is more agentic in nature. So we can do, because there's a lot more tier 3s than there are tier 1s and tier 2s. The premise here, spend the time with manual human first outreach for the ones that are showing the greatest intent and are that are most likely to book with you. That's what we're doing. This is the next point is what we like to think about is when we're doing these outbounds, specifically for tier 2, is we have 2 tracks. Track 1 we have a booking sequence. It's a bit more aggressive. And I say the word aggressive, I mean, we're looking to book the meeting, right? We're booking the meeting with this person. And you'll see what we do is we do calls. Well, we're incorporating calls. We have Loom videos, LinkedIn DMs, and emails. And then we have an influence sequence. And this is more LinkedIn focus. We're resharing I'll talk to what a posticle is in a second. We reshare the content we make. We comment on theirs. We bring them into ours. And then all of this, it's really important for us. We have posticles. So instead of a listicle or some like big where you're naming things, we have certain posts that we've done on LinkedIn that performed well that we reshare with people and we comment into them over time. Call it posticles. Really cool strategy, I think, is very helpful. So the entire content and the entire idea of this is how do we outperform when everyone else has gotten better? And I think it requires more human. And so we have a system that allows us to prioritize and where we need to put our humans, because I think they will be the competitive differentiation, not more AI, and we leverage AI. So this is signal-based. We have our trifecta, that's the persona. We have dual sequences, allows us to execute. And then we have a very robust LinkedIn presence for Surroundbound. That's how we prioritize. That's how we think about when a lead comes in. Now, what Caleb's about to show, we think about this is how do we operationalize these behaviors? So this is where like super inside of HubSpot makes us, this is part of our unfair advantage is our job is we're going to make humans our competitive advantage. So that's our premise. And so that's our tier 1. We often are activating tier 1 and tier 2s is where we're super sitting. So it pushes the signal directly to the rep so they can activate it. They see it and it arms them with what activities to do next and what to do. And it ensures specific behaviors are done. So what Caleb's going to show is how it works on his level, the success it's been as we go through it. So I'll hand it back over to Tyler. I think there's another question, and then it'll go to Caleb as we go.
I think we have a poll after, but we got the super demo coming up. So I'll actually toss it over to you guys to take that as the next step.
Let's go straight into that poll question, and then I'll demo at the end of mine.
Colt, do you want to trigger that? Send it up on the screen. Amazing. All right. Hot topic. Does rep outreach still work in 2026? Let's see what everybody thinks here. Yes, when it's signal driven and personalized, somewhat, but the bar for quality keeps going up. No, buyers have tuned it out entirely. No one's responding to outbound emails, or it depends entirely on the rep.
All right. So this is the question that I ask myself when I'm in the trenches. Does outbound work in 2026? I ask myself this, even if I booked a meeting yesterday. All right. And Cole, can you put that slide deck back up so we can get back on the slide deck? So I'm always asking myself this. And the answer that I've come to is yes. Otherwise, we would not be throwing this webinar. Okay. So does it work? Yes. Okay. And I looked at this to prepping for this. I just looked at the data, right? So if you look at the slide, this is my own data. It's no one else's, my own. Meetings booked, right? This is probably for the past 2 years. 34% of my meetings have been from proactive AE outreach. And that's not like 10 meetings, 164 meetings from AE outreach. So does it work from meetings books? Yes. Then the question is revenue. Does it actually result in revenue? Yes. That bar right there, that's my outbound revenue. Okay. That's AE initiated, email, LinkedIn, got them to book a meeting, close revenue from it. Okay. One of the more interesting things that I really keep an eye on because it's more fun is, but what about the buyer experience? Okay. And I think that's a really good quote unquote KPI to think about. But these are real responses I've gotten from outreach, trying to set meetings. The first one, hey, I'll get is an email back. Hey, I'll schedule a meeting, ... Are your emails AI generated? No, they're not. They're very good. The most custom emails I receive in an ocean of sales emails. Okay. Meeting booked. How did it make her feel? Wow, this is custom. You're talking to me. Okay. Second one down here in the lower left. Okay. This is from a call recording transcript. The first call after booking a meeting via LinkedIn outreach. Hey, thank you for your Loom recording. Pitch on LinkedIn. Thank you for pitching me on LinkedIn. I thought it was brilliant. And I'm going to steal it and have my salespeople do the same thing. Okay. Can we make our outreach make people actually consider how they're doing outreach? And guys, the reason that I'm starting with this is we have a system that we're showing, the system that we use, but there must be a human in the system that makes it work, right? And so, so this is the last one. This last one on the lower right hand side is actually a repost. I prospected into this person on LinkedIn. We had a little bit of conversation, and then she posts about it. She posts my entire outreach and says, today my shout out goes to Caleb King. And so that is a pleasant surprise to come up on your LinkedIn feed. But all of this is to show, I have a document, I have pages of responses from this, where if you do outreach right, and I'll share some of my principles, you can actually make the buyer, you can affect the buyer experience. Okay. And that's what we're after. So does outreach work? Sometimes I question it when I'm not booking meetings, but yes, it does. All right. So this is what I'm going to talk about right now. Okay. The system is solid. We're going to talk about the system. I'm a firm believer that system needs a human inside of it today to make it work. Our system does as well. I don't have a playbook for you. I do not have a playbook for you. I do have principles that I think that really worked for me. They booked a lot of meetings. That's what I'm going to share with you. And the main principle I'm going to open up with is making it easy. So I'm going to do what you can expect. I'm going to just share 3 of my main principles and how the human makes a prospecting system work. And then I'm going to actually demo you the system to show you how it works. Okay. Here we go. The main principle when I think about in prospecting is making it easy. Okay. What do I mean by that? The first thing, make it easy to help or have people know that you're a human. Okay. It was always hard to break through the noise, and it continues to be hard, especially with all AI out there, but it was always hard. I'll be clear. It's not a new problem. 10 years ago, it was hard to break through the noise. Now it's hard to break through the noise. So how do we do that? Okay, the first thing, Matt talked about it. Our entire company operates under a principle we call Surroundbound. which means we're everywhere that our ICP is. So what does that mean for me as the rep? Is every day, part of my prospecting is reading, commenting thoughtfully, not a bot commenting on random posts, and posting myself, right? I want to be in front of people in my sales cycle, before my sales cycle, existing customers. So I'm always reading, commenting, and posting. Okay. So that's the setup work. It is the groundwork. You have to do it. Okay. Underneath that, though, there does come outreach, and video does work for me. All right. So we use Loom, right? You can use a number of videos, but you can see that first slide. Video does work. Almost all my outreach starts with a video and a message, right? I often, if I email, I'll find ways to break through the noise, where on the right-hand side, you can see this example email I sent that booked a meeting. I'll research, I'll listen to the podcast, I'll look at their website, I'll screenshot directly from their website, put it in the email, make a comment, say something about it. Maybe if there's some linkage to the super value prop, I'll say that. But you just got to think about readability. How do I break through the noise of an inbox? And often I find screenshotting does that. Writing in bullet points does that. You've just got to find a way to cut through the noise and help people understand that it's a human reaching out to them. Okay. So that's the first thing. Make it easy. That's my first principle. Make it easy for people to know you're human. The second principle that works for me is make it easy for people to understand what you want. Okay. Now, I will say there is some discernment that you have to have here. So if you look at this first reaction on the left-hand side, hey, he got a person to take meeting that never takes meeting, and I had no clue what he was selling. Now, I want to be clear. I'm very direct when I reach out. Hey, I'm reaching out to you because of this. This is why I think it's relevant. This is what Super does. Do you want to take an exploratory meeting? Okay. So I'll say that, but that's not what people necessarily hear. What did she say? I just liked the way he approached the conversation. What does that mean? I commented on posts. I sent personalized videos. I talked about why I want to talk to her specifically. All right. So some people, though, regardless of what you say, what they'll hear is, and the reason they'll book is just because of the approach, right? Something that's really popular, people say, is like the way you sell is why you win, which I have found to be true in some instances. Some people, like this example on the right-hand side, this is the outreach that I did, is they just want you to be really direct, right? It does not work for everyone, right? But some people just want you to be really direct. And I gathered this through reading a bunch of this person's posts, understanding, okay, they probably just want me to be really direct. So what did I say? Probably can't see the copy, but I'm just going to say, I laid it out as clearly as I could. Hey, I want to meet with you to see if it's a good fit for you to use and buy Supered. That's why I'm reaching out and why I'm here. Based on my research, I'm assuming you're a good fit, and thus I want to explore this together. Why? 4 reasons. You're a VP of RevOps. We solve for RevOps too. You have a sales-led motion, not a product-led sales motion, which indicates that you have humans that need to follow a process that will affect the success of your revenue. 3, you've been enrolled for X amount of months, which tells me that you're embedded enough to make recommendations. 4, you advise Rattle, which is an interesting adjacent solution, right? And so I just try to be as clear as possible. Say, I want a meeting. These are the 4 reasons. Do you want them? Yes or no? Okay. So make it really easy for people to understand what you want. Okay. And my last principle, and this one is similar to this last one, but always just give a direct ask. I always just directly ask. Hey, I'm not here to, I guess I'm here to network, all these things. I think there's some things that are cool, but I'm reaching out specifically now because I want to know if you want a meeting. And so this snippet right here is the exact snippet I use in all my email outreach. Here's why I'm reaching out, why I'm reaching out. Do you want to meet? If yes, here's my meetings link. If no, just give me some feedback, right? Make a direct ask. All right. So that's making it really easy for people to understand what you want and make it really easy for people to book with you. The second point here is this idea of persistence, right? This word gets thrown around a lot. And like, I actually don't believe in the idiom that says like, I don't take no for an answer. I gladly take no for an answer if you tell me you understand what I'm talking about and tell me no. Okay. But the idea of, if you look at this response, hey, appreciate the follow-up. I meant to write back. I booked some time on Friday for us to chat. Okay. This happens more often than you think. for everyone on this call that gets prospected into, think about it. Someone will reach out. It might be semi-interesting, but something else comes up. You answer a Slack message like that. And so how do I make it really easy for people who have piqued interest to book with me? It's through persistence. So I'll follow up number of times until I get a no, because I can't tell you how many meetings have been booked where they said, hey, that was interesting. Hey, I watched your video. Thank you for following up again. And then they book the meeting. Okay. So these are the principles. Okay. Because it's really important. I'm going to show you the system. You'll understand the system, but the system does not work with a human inside the system following principles to cut through the noise and make it easy for people to book time with them. Okay, I'm going to go to the demo now and take a real quick sip of water. So this is the system that I use, that we use. It is what I'm about to show you answers the question, how do I know who to reach out to? Okay. How do I actually, when I think about prospect my day, there's sourcing contacts. Who do I reach out to, which we're going to focus on today. And then there's working contacts, which is my active prospecting pipeline. I use HubSpot tasks for that. And then there's working deals, which I use Supered in HubSpot for. Okay. So you should be seeing my Gmail right now. Supered works anywhere, but Supered is the place of action for us. So what I do is I open Supered, keeps me on the place where I'm working. Okay. And we have something called a prospecting board. Okay. And what that does, if I just come in and I hit play, what it does is it takes all that information that Diana and Matt, all that enriched information, and just points me. Okay. So what you notice when I hit play is it takes me directly into HubSpot to a record in my tier 1 that will tell me, okay, we think this company is worth reaching out to. So we've created this card up here, or Diana's created this card up here that tells me all the company information I'm interested in, revenue, employee range, tier 1. Okay. And then what I usually jump right to is I prospect into contacts, not companies. Okay. And so it'll tell me, hey, who are the people that have initiated the signals, right? It's these 2 people right here. Has their LinkedIn right there, because that's what I care about. Has their role, and then tells me what the signal is. Okay. So once I've done this, I'll go to the next one. This is a really good example too. Okay. Now it's taking me to Solus. This is the next one. Okay. And I'll actually go through the motion here. Same thing. Gives me the data on the company that puts them inside of a company worth prospecting into. Gives me the data on the people, the signal initiator. And so I'm looking, okay, Kim and Spencer, job title. I like these job titles, RevOps, Director of RevOps. And usually the next thing that I do is I go ahead and open these 2 up because I want to go and start my outreach on LinkedIn. But what you can see here is you can talk about, I also want to know, like, what are the exact signals and when do they happen? So this person came to our block party at Inbound last year. This person follows us on LinkedIn and social listings. So part of some posts, and you can even see here, it can tell me, all right, what's the exact post they interacted with? So I can go and research that. Okay. So this is where it happens. This answers the question, hey, who do I reach out to? And it takes out all that digging work that typically reps have to do. Okay. From there, then I can just go straight into LinkedIn. I open it up and then I start my motion. So this, Spencer, I don't know if you're watching, you're probably going to get a message from me soon, but this information, then I just go through it, right? What do? I do the human work. I read his posts. I go to his website. I send him a message or tag him into a post that I think is relevant, right? And you'll notice that how do I kick them out? I can also I'll do my outreach, do whatever commenting I want. I set a task. We use Surf for that. I set a task that puts them directly into HubSpot, into my task queue. And then one of the logic things that kicks them out of our like sourcing is if a task is set or if they're in a sequence, he'll come off of this. And then the next day when I come in and open it up, I don't see Solus because he's already in my active prospecting. This is just for sourcing. And then I have another process for active prospecting. Okay. That is how it works. Now, another valuable piece of this, which is really simple, but also in the enriching process, we have the emails enriched, right? So a lot of times, maybe they don't want to connect on LinkedIn. I'll send them an email and I'll take them through the exact same process. Okay. That's what Super does. I just come in every day. This is how we source prospects. And a big part of how we use Super is how we manage deals as well, but that's a different topic. And then what I can do here is also, once I've gotten to 0, right? I hit the playlist, I've gotten to 0. The final piece is you can zoom out and say, all right, what are the, what tiers are people in? I only work tier 1s right now. So I have 6 in tiers 1 I have to be reached out to. Who are the leaders with the most things, right? And you can come down to the exact records themselves and see those themselves, and then hit play. That's how Super's prospecting system works. That's it.
So every time I talk about Allbound and the Allbound strategy, and I get this this really technical builds and etc., the piece that I'm always missing is like, okay, how does this data actually get worked and actually book meetings? So I love that you all have gotten a chance to see Caleb actually work through these and get meetings from it, because data is nothing unless you are actually able to generate pipeline with it. And so I hope everybody gets a good understanding of the holistic idea that is Allbound as a strategy. And maybe you can use some of these best practices to also generate pipelines yourself. Tyler, do we want to go into a quick Q&A here in the last few minutes?
Yes, let's do it. All right. Thank you, everyone, for sending some questions in the chat. So I've aggregated a number of these that we haven't replied to already. And I'm just going to run down the list. So the first one, this is a great question. So I'm going to toss this one over to you, Diana. It's actually combining 2 of them, but they're related. So the first is, when is the right moment to import those contacts from Clay to HubSpot? And then how are you handling duplicates in HubSpot for new followers? Are you running a contact lookup prior to enriching the record and then pushing into HubSpot?
Yeah, great question. So whatever the signal is, or TAM list building, or whatever the action you're doing to do the list building, the recommendation here is that you only push information into HubSpot if they are actually qualified, right? So there's actually different parameters that we use to also do some credit management, so we're not spending credits on people who we're not interested in. So every time you check for one of the parameters that you're interested in, the people who don't fall under that get basically like put on the side. And the only people that we push into HubSpot are ICP qualified companies and buyer personas of interest. In regards to duplicates, yes, within each one of our different Clay tables, we are always checking whether the company or the contact exists in HubSpot almost immediately. And because we are so LinkedIn heavy within the Super ecosystem, we always check against the LinkedIn profile, because we have that in 100% of the records that we have enriched. And it's also information that usually comes for free, like when you're pulling information from PhantomBuster or Triggerfy, or even sourcing the information from within TAM list building in Clay, it will come with that without having to do any sort of enrichment for the most part. And so we always double check against that before we run any enrichments.
Amazing. Cool. Okay, I'm going to kind of combine a couple other questions that are related as well. Caleb, this one is probably for you, but maybe we can open up to Matt and the team as well. So the first one is pretty quick. So it's, how does the team interpret scoring outputs? Then we got a recent question that I think builds on this idea. So understanding the one-on-one touch on tier 1, but maybe can you discuss what tier 2 and tier 3 get? So yeah, Caleb, if you could maybe talk about scoring outputs and then sort of how you handle tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 separately.
Yeah, so from the sales rep perspective, I just focus on tier 1. So how do I get the scoring output? They're put on that Super process board, and I just make sure that I pay attention to the ones that are tier 1 and get those down to 0, meaning I'm reaching out to them. So it's just presented to me, hey, Caleb, go after tier 1. I just hit play, and then I go through each of those.
Yeah, I think this gets to Caleb is a rep, and my job as and Diana's job as RevOps is to make sure the rep sees a tier 1 is like, that's hot. That's all you need from a rep. Yes, no, that's a good thing to work. So we spent a lot of time in getting the ICP from the company, getting it all right, and getting the contact score right. So he's only served the things that say, hey, that's hot. So when it goes into those, it's just ICP filters and contact and the persona filters. And because we do signal initiators, it's actually the contact first, right? Then we enrich the contact. And we say, is this an ICP fit or not? If it's an ICP fit, then it goes in, and then it gets scored again inside of HubSpot, and that's where it gets distributed to the reps. you remind me of question 2? I had a thought. What was the second question on that? How do tier 2s get worked? Okay, so you're hearing from a full cycle rep. I believe very strongly in full cycle AEs being the future. So I have a very strong point to that because I believe human is going to be a new competitive advantage. But number 2 is we have an SDR that does tier 2s. Tier 2s, they use sequences. Right, so Caleb and I give a little more autonomy to AEs because I trust, and it's like, hey, as long as you have a task and you always have a follow up and you always have this many touches, I'm good. But for SDRs, they follow a sequence, and I have 2 separate sequences that get sent in, either an influence sequence or a booking sequence based on the persona they're going. It's at HubSpot. And tier 3 gets a prospecting agent. It's at HubSpot.
Amazing. Cool. Okay. This one, maybe we could round robin. But maybe best for Diana and Matt, actually, both of you guys from kind of behind the scenes. So this is coming from, they self-cited themselves as a biased audience, as a RevOps pro. They asked, how much ongoing ops support does this tech stack require? Are you iterating on the setup often, or is it designed for handoff from an ops person to a less tech-savvy sales member?
I will go first, and then you can add whatever you want, Matt. So, a lot of the ongoing signals that you saw me talk about, so like website visitors, LinkedIn followers, etc., are tables that you pretty much set up, and unless something breaks or something changes within each one of the platforms, then it really just runs on its own, and there's not much that you need to do for the maintenance of those signals. However, your competitive advantage here is being able to really be everywhere and capture from all of the possible signals. And so the idea here is that every new event that you're going to be sourcing lists for and qualifying them. Every new motion that you're starting within your business, you're creating a signal and a tiering around, right? So this is all going to come down to how holistic you want the entire Allbound strategy to be, because in my opinion, there's always something new to be done, right? Matt, what would you say?
Yeah, so I like to break things into systems, for better or worse. And I think when I was thinking about this problem set, you have reoccurring signals that once set up are reoccurring and evergreen. That might be for us. So people think I'm crazy, but it is not a vanity metric for how many LinkedIn followers we have. Every LinkedIn follower is actually building a list for us that's warm down. So we have an ongoing that we take anyone that comes from that. It's a contact signal. You saw it on Caleb. It then gets put in. We have those same for anything that's reoccurring, where the list is constantly updating. That once it's built, those don't take much maintenance. They're just there. But what does take maintenance is, say I have a static. That's what Dan is talking. Hey, I need to build this for which is still copy and paste, but it's a low maintenance. But I need someone to create the table. Here's the list of people. Get it into it. And it's a little bit of maintenance to execute, but it's not super heavy. Now there's that Clay creating supered. I like to call these things, there's liabilities and there's assets. I need liabilities. I need a cart, and it helps me get around. A document, a process document is the definition of the go-to-market car. Immediately loses value the moment it's written. Clay tables are assets, right? They build in value over time. Supered system that allows you to automatically hit once you have it is an asset. And when you look at what you're building, I'm very pro not having documentation and building for the process, creating assets. That's why I look at the world. And so go through what's a liability, what's an asset for you. And so everything we showed is actually not a lot of maintenance once you see it, once it's set up.
Cool. Again, I'm going to combine a couple really quick ones here. So the first being around, what is the contract threshold for the website visitor signals? Is it available on all plans? I think this was specifically referencing HubSpot. But Dana, I know you guys use Vector for this often. Clay also has this natively baked in. So I'll throw this over to you, and then I have a part 2 that I'll jump on after.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure the website visitors on HubSpot is based on Marketing Hub Pro. And sorry, everyone, the website visitors that HubSpot and Clay offers are at the company level. And we specifically use Vector because Vector offers us at the contact level. So that's a big differentiator. I think the minimum plan in Vector is $3.99 a month, and there's like a cap on the number of visitors, but usually $3.99 covers most of your LinkedIn or your website traffic.
Amazing. What, kind of expanding on that similar idea, what would you say is the overall monthly budget per user for the whole stack that we talked about today? Where can people sort of expect to get started?
Can I start on this one? So first off, if you meet with Diana, she'll walk you through all this, just number one. Number two is as you're building this, I mean, this took us 6 months to build, Diana, but took us 6 months to build, and it's full iteration now that has all signals built. Maybe it was 4 months. Maybe it was 4 months to build. I recommend if you're doing this, you go signal by signal. And the question is, what is core? What's the assets? Which is Clay. It's Clay. Number two is the intent and how you're getting the intent signals. You may not like the intent signal you're using. So we went through a few, right? So go one by one. De-anonymizing website traffic. If that's what you want to do, it may cost you money. Are you sure you want to do that cost? Would you rather start with LinkedIn followers, which is a PhantomBuster account, maybe, right? Like you can scrape that there's free scraping tools. So the question is it's actually by intent signal and increases. And so whatever you pick, and by darn it, if you do not have a system to work that data that gets in, you're going to fail no matter what. So I'm answering that way. So Clay, we use, the price changed, so you forgive me.
Yeah.
I was paying $100 a month. It was great. I don't know what we're paying now. I need to figure that out. But super, to operationalize it, it just depends on the seat, $30 a user. And if you're $30 a user when you're doing that on added to make sure the system's being worked, is what it is for there. Diana, I'll let you go more. I'm just trying to give the context and framing it.
Yeah, so Matt is speaking from the point of view of a CEO that doesn't want to purchase any tools, and I have to convince him to purchase the tools that we need. So I think he's exactly right. It's going to depend a lot on the specific signals that work for you. I do have a lot of partners or customers that start with all of the Clay default signals like new hires and job changes, and so that will minimize cost per rep initially. But if it really depends on whether you want to do website visitors, et cetera. I think for Super, we might be averaging something like $300 or $400 per rep. But again, if you really don't have the system to work it, as Matt said, it's really money down the drain. But if you're using it to be able to book meetings, then you're getting 10x what you're going to be spending on this.
Amazing. Cool. Well, that leaves us just at the top of the hour. So I'll round it off there. Thanks everyone for joining. As we mentioned in the beginning, we will be sending out the V1 recording. We'll send out a recording of today's session. We'll also forward more information on Southbound, Super, RevPartners, Clay, etc., how you can get started with this. As a reminder, Southbound is happening next month, April 16th in Atlanta at the Coca-Cola Roxy. It's going to be amazing. HubSpot CEO will be there. Clay's co-founder will be there. Donald Miller. It's going to be some amazing speakers. It'll be a great time. 60% off code. Prospecting in all caps. It'll also be sent out after this. Yeah, you could get a Thor hammer as well. Super will be there. It'll be great. So thanks everyone for attending. Looking forward to next steps here, and hope to see you all at Southbound. Thanks so much.
Yes, everybody.
Thank you all for joining. Bye-bye.